continuing with this journey of interviews with speakers, with keynotes and sponsors of the Fintech Americas here in Miami. We have now another view of the market, of the financial market, with Paul Brody, Global Blockchain Leader of Ernst & Young. Thank you very much for being here at stage with us.
Thanks for having me.
We are going to talk a lot about blockchains. Can you describe the actual state of blockchains, technology in the financial industry?
Yeah, so blockchain has, if it's made an impact anywhere, it's made it in the financial services industry in probably two very notable ways. The first is around cryptocurrencies, right? These are these kind of synthetic digital currencies that people are pitching as an alternative to traditional government-issued fiat currency. And the audience for that has been very, very strong, particularly in Latin America, especially in countries where inflation's been very high, where there have historically been capital controls or sudden devaluations, or where there are like shadow or multiple exchange rates. And people see this as a potentially more fair kind of system because the issuance of currency in cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin is done by an algorithm, not by a person who might be politically influenced. So that's one very big impact. And then the second big impact is in accelerating kind of the dollarization of the global economy, because one of the biggest non-cryptocurrency things you can do using blockchain technology is to make payments in the US dollar, and these are called stable coins because their value is stable relative not only to cryptocurrencies but to other kind of fiat currencies.
So I can suppose that Latin America is another reality. So what are the most important advantages of blockchains in this industry?
So the appeal for Latin America is really this kind of inflation resistance, right? Is inflation resistance and political resistance around cryptocurrency, and then dollarization, right? So particularly for a lot of countries, cryptocurrency isn't always a good choice because it is quite volatile, right? Historically, Bitcoin in particular has been very volatile. The US dollar is relatively stable, and in many countries, there is, if not official dollarization, there is de facto dollarization.
And how can it enhance the consumer experience?
So that's a really tough question because a blockchain technology is still, from a usability perspective, not that great. Now, it probably fares relatively well it fares very nicely compared to, say, waiting in line for 2 hours at a bank, but it's most attractive to folks who are comfortable with technology, with mobile applications, with abstract concepts like tokenization, but it's not easy to use, and in particular, it comes with a lot of security risk. It's easy to lose your money on blockchains if you're not careful with what you're doing.
This is a very important question, and I want to say literally because it's very important. What emerging trends in blockchains do you see as a gamer changers, for the financial industry in the coming years?
So historically, almost all of the blockchain industry, both in the US and across Latin America, has been focused on something very simple, which is payments, right? Cryptocurrency or dollar payments. But where we're headed to over time is something a little bit more complex, and there's two areas where we're going to see this most. The first is called decentralized finance, and it's basically the migration of traditional financial services onto blockchains. So blockchains are these kinds of databases that allow us to keep track of like a ledger of payments between people, but they're also enabling software applications. So I can take things like secured lending or payments against collateral. I can turn those traditional banking functions into software applications and run them on the network. And that's called decentralized finance. That's one area we'll see bank-like functions like deposits and lending and interest payments and insurance just done entirely in software, regulators permitting. And then secondly, we are going to see more and more businesses adopting blockchain technology for payments, for business applications. We at EY just launched our own application for blockchains that enables procurement. And we've already enabled things like food traceability, carbon traceability, vaccine traceability, where you can use blockchain to keep track of a history of a product or an asset.
And finally, I want to ask you about this event. What do you see? What can you discuss with other partners, with people assisting the event?
So one of the things that's really impressed me here is even though Latin America isn't a single unified market, right? It doesn't have some of the benefits the EU does of having kind of level of common legislation. What you are seeing here, and what's very visible in the conference floor, is the emergence of this pan-Latin America digital infrastructure ecosystem. There are companies that operate in many, many different countries. They're able to offer very similar services, and you can start to see how even if every country there is no kind of EU of Latin America with a similar strong legislative infrastructure, it's going to be more and more possible for companies using blockchain and fintech to assemble common offerings that can be deployed across the region. And that's going to make it a more attractive place to do business because you can aggregate across many different markets.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.